Oh man. And we're live, Mr. C.
Yes, we are.
Hey, awesome. Awesome. In this video, we are talking about Daredevil Born Again, episode 8, and I will not be doing this voice all of this time.
Let me tell you, if you tried, you'd be double exhausted after the fact. That much I can say.
I think
For
I would
one,
also be bored too, but by the cadence of my own voice, it would be get the point out, get the point out. But
man,
anyway,
for a guy who are self-proclaimed resident comic relief across the Fanboy Cantina channel, across the Mr. C Dives In channel, our self-appointed comic relief known as Chai Star G, often is pushing for the cosplay. And now, lo and behold, you dig into the well, and here comes some Fisk-like white suit. How did you pull this off?
this white suit coat is from a time decades ago that me and Chai Star G went to an 80s Halloween party and we were Crockett and Tubbs. So this is my Crockett jacket from, yeah, way back when.
I must
Still
have been
fits mostly. A little
I
wrinkly.
must have been studying that night or something. Man, oh man, this is good stuff.
It's been a minute since that event. All right, so we're talking about Daredevil Born Again, episode 8, and yes, it's Fanboy Kingpin. So we'll do the same format of talking about overall feelings about the episode, and then we'll hop around to specific elements. Mr. C, your thoughts on this week's penultimate episode?
Penultimate. Oh, we're invoking a little Mark Ellis to utilize the vocabulary of saying penultimate. So far, so good. So let's go back roughly 22 hours, 23, 90, 24 hours minus 90 minutes ago. I send you a single word review of my thoughts of the show from last night. I say overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You at that time had not yet finished the episode, partly on the time zone difference and all that. At that point, had you felt overwhelmed, or by the end of your first viewing, did you reach a status of being overwhelmed?
Overwhelmed isn't the word that I would use, but certainly tense, anxious, and joyful that this amount of tension, this type of writing is being realized in the small screen form, right? It seems like, I think John Campea said this on his show. It's like MCU is back. It's back to its form. It's back to kind of what we hope to expect from this type of series. It was a phenomenal episode for me.
Right there with you. I'm saying it is so packed. Like other times, you're like, how can they put this much great fight choreography into an episode? How can they put this much suspense into an episode? But how could they keep such a fast-paced, heavy-hitting, parallel structure, cutscene? Here's Wilson Fisk. Cutscene. Here's Matt Murdock. Back and forth, showing as we said before, it's somehow both a parallel process, yet also showing their pending collision of their interaction. It was just so well written. So well written it was. It is.
It so well written and so well executed. The use of color, this one felt probably most like a comic book for me, right? We've mentioned it before. The BB report kind of excerpts, and how it's kind of like those panels that you would see in the comics, where you're getting a sense of the rest of the environment and what else is going on. This one, the use of color, where when Fisk shows up, and you could I at a future time, I'd like to revisit some of the earlier episodes and contrast it with this one. in the beginning, I think you saw more color, more light in the office, right? In the mayor's office. The windows were open. And in this case, it's the shadow, it's the light that is hitting you, right? You see the white background for every time that Fisk is there, or it's like completely washed out with the white light. And then with Bullseye or Poindexter and his appearances, where that you see the blue tint. And then, of course, with Daredevil, it's the red tint, both in terms of blood and in terms of color filter. Just excellent. It reminded me most of comics, and also gave me, yeah, just as an episode, just one of the best of the series.
Pardon the pun, but you are landing on the bullseye, and you turn up the flames. This man is cooking in his commentary.
Oh my goodness.
Let's
Yeah,
see.
should I wear a suit coat more often? Is that
maybe
it?
so. Maybe it does a little something there. I thought I was, instead of wearing a fanboy or a Mr. C t-shirt, I thought I'm leaving on my during the day. Anyway, so who do we got? Who do we got in comments now? Speaking of,
Oh my goodness. Yes, the Greg Pin. I think that's awesome. That is perfect. That is awesome. I love that.
and a more substantial comment from the Broaxium verse, a slow but amazing burn for this season. Period. Light on the jokes, thankfully. So not the usual dump truck.
Yeah.
Shots fired. Shots fired in the writer's room. All right. Past episode was tense from start to finish, man. Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That entire sequence. Okay. So let's talk about parts of this episode. It did a near seamless transition from the last episode where we saw the murder or the shooting of Luca. And we had questions about, was Vanessa setting him up, or did Kingpin find out? In this case, I think we have the answer. Vanessa set him up. He needed to be taken off of his quest for the throne.
I hate to go a pivot away from what Chris just said about tamping down the jokes, but this is the review. This isn't the actual show. So I'm going to pull, obviously, Hell's Kitchen is in New York. So obviously this is some East Coast referential material, which brings me to a certain classroom in a certain municipality of Brooklyn. And I'm talking the Sweat Hogs classroom when Horshack taught us long ago, when you least expect it, and everybody up and down the call sheet should have been listening to the words of Arnold Horshack. Whether I'm smart or not smart, I did not see it coming that Vanessa was the queen pin, that Vanessa was the driving force. Like maybe it was a consideration. She was reluctantly keeping the doors open for the Kingpin Mafia Empire. But oh no, she's like, all right. Sleeves were rolled up, orders were given, murders were executed. I mean, wow.
Yeah. In the beginning of the episode, you think that, oh, okay, that Bullseye is being released into Gen Pop is the act of Kingpin, that it was based on his, and I think it's explicitly said that it was from the mayor's office of how that happened. So you start to see Fisk seemingly exerting his literal muscle in creating change and in trying to get Bullseye killed. Also, the resolution of the Adam storyline here. Fisk kind of washing his hands, letting Vanessa do what he said he couldn't, and then at the end with the dance and the revelation of who actually caused sought out the murder of Foggy. Yeah, it is quite the turn. It's not Kingpin, it's Queenpin, as you said.
So let's go to the dance floor since you brought that up. We
Mm.
earlier episodes are identifying. Oh, this looks like a tribute or had influence from the movie Heat. Okay, so
Mhm.
now for the dance floor, right? I don't have it necessarily pinned down at just one thing. Little bit similar to a James Bond, in the espionage detective elements of putting together the clues right there. Little bit similar to, I'm talking the Tim Burton era Batman, the second picture, Michael Keaton, Michelle Pfeiffer on the dance floor. All of a sudden you realize, and because this is superhero genre, DC versus Marvel, now all of a sudden Matt's putting the clues together on the dance floor. So you're not realizing, oh, I'm Bruce Wayne, I'm Batman, I'm Selena Kyle, I'm Catwoman. It was a different realization, but man, that was I so missed the point. I wasn't even following along on a detective theme or detective element. I just took it as okay, Foggy's gone. We don't know exactly who ordered the hit. I thought it could why believe the Kingpin when he's sitting down with Matt in the diner? Kingpin could often be disingenuous or deceiving, right? He told Ben Urich, okay, I'm going to walk out of the apartment before he starts strangling Ben Urich. So so again, maybe I just followed the red herrings. Maybe I'm not the smartest guy. Hello, Michaela. But oh man, that just bam. It okay. Instead of Agatha all along, it
Yep.
was Vanessa all
Goodness.
along.
Yeah, if there was only a musical number where they could have broken out into song like that. Um, from the comments, Chris Ryan writes, I didn't see it coming with Vanessa to that extent. To me, she was the queen because she kept Fisk sated and from going full not job crazy, nut job crazy. But to this extent, the swerve, as it's called, brilliant. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely,
The swerve, the
absolutely right.
plot twist, and so the plot swerve followed the footwork on the dance floor. That there was the dance floor swerving, mind exploding, swerving, plot swerving, all concurrent experiences. And then it just as a side note, right? So on the appearance of Kang in the Disney comics rendition. So there's right many archetypes of villains, or villains can have many different features to them. But a common feature between Kingpin and Kang, Kingpin to Vanessa, Kang to Ramona or Ravona, just the desperation, the absolute need to be intermeshed and intertwined. So man, oh man, once Vanessa put a bullet in the head of poor Adam. He's sitting there in the cask of Amontillado. He's trapped down in the basement.
That's
Once
good.
she committed, look at what the power swell. So again, the amassing power. Then to come back however many episodes ago, when they're at the previous function, maybe Kingpin's getting checked a little bit about there's other wealth out there, but then he was on like a power grab, an adrenaline rush, and he's verbally verbal sparring again, trapping people in the corners to try by rhetoric, condemning people to the swordsman to cough up big cash for him. It was
Mhm.
wow. The ascension of the Kingpin.
Just about the murder of Adam that happens in this episode. The From what I understand, originally in the production of Daredevil Born Again, there were several episodes that were created, and they generally worked okay. But then the feedback from um, others was, "Hey, this needs to go into a different direction," such that there was a creative reboot. New showrunners came in, And this episode, along with the next or the finale episode, and I think episode 1, were led by this new creative team, by the new showrunners. This episode and the death of Adam here, the way that it's filmed is so strikingly violent and gory, right? It it's the much of this season has been about not just Daredevil or Matt Murdock being born again into the Daredevil character, but also Fisk being reborn again into the Kingpin character. So here with was I frozen? Am I?
No,
I don't
no,
know.
no. So I'll tell you, I was okay. Behind the curtain, behind the scenes, I was
Yes.
trying to adjust the
Uh-huh.
screen so we would be at the same level.
Oh,
And
okay.
in doing so, I knocked off my visuals. I
That's
literally
right.
had to log back in. So I was hearing your voice and trying to
Okay.
discreetly keep a
That's
poker face
okay.
while I
We're
logged
fine.
back in. But now back
So,
to the
we're okay, good. The season has been about Murdoch being born again as Daredevil, Fisk being born again as Kingpin, and in this scene with Adam and Vanessa and Fisk, you also have the tension between Murdoch and Heather together, and both of these things, both of these stories coming to head, both of that those relationships and the tension coming to a head. So with the filming of this scene, the scene with Adam, yeah, there's other ways to show the shooting of a character. No, they do it where it's as though you are Vanessa holding the gun, and you are shooting him twice in the chest, once in the head, and it is brutal as heck. Unlike anything I can remember seeing in anything tied to Marvel, that level of brutality and violence. And
other
yeah,
people come around on the interwebs and do reviews and chat and such, and maybe those people are actually film school people or to some. So we're not film
yeah,
school guys,
no,
but I know a point of view of a murderer when I see one, and it was absolutely graphic and man, and again unexpected. Now I expected a bad outcome for Adam. Either he was going to stay locked down, or eventually Wilson Fisk was going to terminate his existence, but did not see it coming that Vanessa would bring about his demise.
I mean, I thought it was leading up to Vanessa pulling the trigger. You saw the tension, Fisk signaling. As I've watched the episode twice, Fisk signaling, I've got issues, so I've changed, Vanessa, but that he can't kill Adam because of his commitment, and so I need you, Vanessa, to do it for me. There's a scene right before before you see the blood spatter on the wall, where the two of them are putting their heads together. They've got a tender moment, and it's as though the gap between them is forming a little heart beneath their chins.
Yep.
But you see the corpse of Adam with a bullet in his head, right in the middle. That's chilling as heck. And yeah, kudos to the filmmakers for being able to realize such a horrifying scene.
Now, as you're delineating here, right, the primary two relationships. Let me not look at Chris's comment. Let me
Oh, yeah.
thought, but we'll get Chris's comment up in a second.
Yep.
Is the parallel experiences between Wilson Fisk and Matt Murdock, and then the parallel relationship experience Wilson and Vanessa, Matt and Heather. But now to add in that other supporting cast element, as we got to see from BB Urich and Daniel, and then as BB and the police chief are speaking, she is full well aware, as we questioned earlier, does she know, does she not
Mm-hmm.
know? She is full well aware that Kingpin most likely had murdered her uncle, and she is putting on, to no doubt, to great to great internal distress, putting on the face necessary to try to manipulate Daniel towards getting a resolution, to being able to have hard evidence that Kingpin did murder her uncle. So now, BB, that we've one piece of information revealed about the character, it gives so much more definition to the character from just that one piece of information. My gosh, I also look forward to, just as we're at just finished episode 8 of 9.
Mm-hmm.
Last time we were at 7 of 9.
Yes.
Okay, so but now, just we said we didn't want to see stuff get crammed in, but we said will Punisher show up, will Bullseye show up, but now BB, limited amount of screen time but big impact. And now, jumping one thing into the next, I have to anticipate Bullseye's getting some more screen time in episode 9. Otherwise, how do you even move through anything of the show?
No, absolutely. About BB, now I really love the character. In the beginning, you're still trying to figure her out. Is she an opportunist? Is she just trying to build her BB report channel? Is she completely oblivious? No, she's actually playing the long game here. And that's phenomenal.
Brilliant strategist, wise beyond her years. Daredevil, the man without fear. BB Urich, the journalist, the contemporary video journalist without fear.
Let's get to Chris Ryan's comment here. MCU is best, to me, when it's street level with Daredevil or Luke Cage, etc., and the military espionage style of Cap, Falcon, and Winter Soldier. Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree on all fronts. If there's something that I am lacking or missing from the movies, is now with the introduction of the multiverse, it feels like there's not as many stakes, right? As you pull from a different Earth, pull from a different multiverse or wherever, or, the stakes feel a lot lower. It's that there's a report that Chris Evans may be coming back in Doomsday because he can be Captain Hydra. It's fine, like Chris Ryan's will often talk about Star Wars. Just give me. I will still watch it. I'll watch whatever the heck it is. But the stakes are different than how we started this with the MCU. Here, the stakes are real. White Tiger is not coming back. Foggy is, if he was to come back in some fashion, I understand in the comics he did die at some point, and then whatever. That would diminish the stakes. So, yeah, this more grounded approach is part of what makes this awesome.
Concur. And it continues to be awesome in a bunch of different ways. Let's see what Chris is.
Oh, yeah. I agree with that. His niece will take up the White Tiger mantle, I think. Yeah, I think it's absolutely set up
It's
that
the
way.
qualifier of I think at the end, but absolutely that has to be what's coming. And as you said, I don't know specifics of how or if there would be an integration into Young Avengers, or would this be a separate business? But then from the St. Patrick's Day episode, you have Ms. Marvel presence looming around, and again, a bit of magic in the bangles, a bit of magic in the amulet. So that would be some. There, so many possibilities to continue to keep us on the popcorn and at the edge of the seat.
So I'm going to hop us around a little bit. Question that I was wrestling with: has Daredevil ever killed somebody, either in the show or in the comics? I've read up a little bit. It has happened in the comics, at least. Not sure about the show. I didn't get far enough. And regardless of the answer, do you think that when Matt Murdock shoves Bullseye's head into the table, that he knew that that was going to dislodge something and allow him a way to escape? Did he know what he was doing there?
Let me go your second question first, and
Yeah.
then after we'll see if I can retain your first question, or if I have to ask you, can you pitch the question again?
Yeah.
But I'm going to say, in that moment, uh, Matt is too blinded by rage. He's still grieving Foggy, right? So he does all this repression of the emotion, or all the rage, the major impact losing Foggy had on him, and now here he is back in the same room with Bullseye, who's poking, like it was bound to happen. So I have to believe then Matt, as the human being with emotions, did not care in that moment. It was just time to slam his head down repeatedly and then lie to the guard about it. I like the little insult to injury that came at the end, but I also have to think that it was not Matt's goal to give Bullseye a loose tooth that he would be able to utilize as a weapon. Like, Matt wasn't trying to sacrifice anybody else working in the.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Right? The entire time with Bullseye, I'm like waiting for what ultimately happens. Somebody needs to touch him, give him a paperclip or uh, a nut or something. The types of kills that happened in Daredevil with Ben Affleck and Colin Farrell, right? I'm looking for, is he going to get in contact with anything, because that's going to be his route for escape. You just kind of expect it. So did Murdock necessarily know what was happening? Because the lead up to that moment of shoving him, banging Bullseye's head into the table is, hey, I can give you, who actually ordered the hit. I can, I'm looking for a way out. I'm looking to make a deal here. Um, don't you good guys stand up for your worst enemy? He's looking for a way out. He's looking for a way to not get killed in Gen Pop here. My first watch suggested, or first and second one, both times that I've watched it, I kind of think that Murdock did that knowing that it may have allowed him a way to escape, out of his shackles. But then in doing that, right, 2 people die. Yeah. So that feels asynchronous or out of sync with kind of Murdoch's values. So and so that goes back to my first question: has Murdoch killed people in the show before?
So comics again, let's say at least in the early comics, Marvel was on no kills, and it was. So is it possible that under Frank Miller's time, or somebody who's come after Frank Miller, it's possible? And I don't have that depth of knowledge. And hey, if you're watching live, or if you're in the comment section afterwards and you followed the Daredevil comics with some to a greater degree than either of us, feel free to cite a year or a issue number or some manner of reference. But I got to figure that because in the Netflix era, in the earlier seasons of Daredevil, that was the defining difference. That was the verbal argument, the physical argument between Daredevil and Punisher. Punisher was critiquing, hey, paraphrase, hey, Red, you beat them up, they come right back. My way is the real way. You got to kill them. So Chai-Star G literally chiming in there on the text line. You can feel free to jump over into the comment section or what have you.
Anyways, yeah. So with okay, on the theme of does Daredevil kill people, I had expected when you at the very end of the episode, he's putting the pieces together he's figuring it out. We've got Detective Matt Murdock on the case here. He's figured out that it's Vanessa that's been pulling the strings. It was Vanessa that ordered the hit on Foggy. And he looks up, he hears the cocking of the gun and looks up and sees it's Bullseye with the rifle, or not sees, but yeah, he knows that it's
He has to perceive in that regard. Yes.
he has perceived that it's Bullseye. So I had wondered, oh my goodness, is he actually going to take Vanessa and put her in the path of Bullseye's bullet? That's what I thought was going to transpire. And how insanely dark is that? But that doesn't seem, that doesn't seem to be Murdoch's character. Matt Murdoch and his attachment to faith, his attachment to his ideals. Yeah, that's not something that I'm willing to do. Instead, I'm willing to throw myself in front of the bullet for my worst enemy.
So, and I have to figure the athletic, acrobatic, aerial artist specimen that is Matt Murdock, Daredevil, was well aware of Bullseye's precision, and I didn't do a trajectory as to calculate exactly where the bullet would have struck Fisk, but I'm pretty sure Daredevil timed his leap, timed his swerve so that he would take the bullet just off the shoulder, like he's not sacrificing himself. But now see, what's the fallout from that? Because now, last time around, Fisk was able to control a media narrative and say it was the task force who apprehended Muse. But now you have a room full of witnesses to say Murdoch was in front of the bullet. So that, and there's only one episode left. How are they going to wrap everything all up? But I'm saying, in the wrap up that's coming in episode 9, I anticipate some clever dialogue to explain from Matt Murdock, to explain what his thought process was, to exactly, I figured I'd take it in the shoulder and then blah, 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 whatever else they know in the writer's room that we don't know as we sit here in our respective filming spots.
So in the chat, we've got Chai-Star G. So welcome, Chai-Star G. And Jim Gamble does point out something that happens in the first episode of the season. Daredevil threw Bullseye off the building. So I think he's down to kill if he gets pushed far enough. That makes a lot of
Jim, if you want to bring up obvious points that were escaping us at the time, then yeah. I don't think you figure, well, I'm sure he'll live as he threw him off the building. So but again, in the immediacy of Foggy being murdered, or in the months or however long of the timeline afterwards of Foggy being murdered, right? They're heroic character, yes, but also far and can be pushed before their logic and their morality can take a swerve and come out, with an animalistic response.
Yes, I think that's right. And what? I'm clicking on it, and nothing seems to be happening.
It's showing not.
Oh, you were clicking on it too. Yeah.
No, I didn't. My hands were off the board, but it's visible as I see it here. We're still working out the simulcast nuances, but hey,
that's right.
We're in Campbell's corner, and Campbell says it's not as calm and cold as Batman.
Yep. No, that's right. That's right. So we're 34 minutes in here, Mr. C. Hopping around again. Yeah, a criticism I saw on one channel about this episode, and perhaps the series overall, is about the use of the swordsman character, or Jack Duquesne. And the criticism that I saw here was there's not enough use of him in this episode or in the series. Feels like they're speaking to this world of vigilantes, but you don't actually see many vigilantes to begin with. I didn't feel that way because he is used in Hawkeye. He is in the Hawkeye series. It's not quite explicit that he is who he is, but it's set up where Jack Duquesne is swordsman, is the swordsman. So yes, this is not a wedding singer gig. This is a Kingpin thing. Thanks you, but but I am available for bar mitzvahs and parties. So let me know. Post in the comments. Yeah. So what the heck was I saying? I completely threw myself off.
Duquesne, the
Oh
swordsman.
yeah, Jack Duquesne. So yeah,
If you were Crockett or if you were Tubbs, then whichever one he was, don't let either Crockett or Tubbs from the comments derail the flow of the swerving here. We're trying to say a critique of the swordsman is he's been underutilized in this show. I think he's spot on. It's a cameo appearance. You can't waste all the swordsman's sword play and whole ambiance and vibe and mystique. You just got to give a little sprinkle of it. Again, just like in the comics, character 1 shows up in the book of character 2 just for a couple panels to try to get you interested to come back over to character 1's book. So in that same way, I think the greater function of Swordsman here is to absolutely first give a shot to Kingpin, then be set back on its heels from Kingpin to set up, like again, the next round or the next volley. I expect Swordsman not to be in episode 9, but to be in a position where he's going to strike out against Kingpin. Again, a long game. And again, he is a Hawkeye character. So we will eventually see more swordsmen in the Hawkeye show.
I am not sure Swordsman lives after tomorrow's next week's episode. So I'm landing differently.
Lots of people off.
Yeah, I'm thinking. So with this episode, so much tension. There's that feeling of dread and anxiety all throughout, right? Even Deputy Mayor
Daniel.
Daniel, thank you.
Played by Michael Gandolfini.
Yeah, I was going to say Mini Gandolfini there. Even with Daniel, right? He even calls it out that either people want to be in the room with Kingpin or they're afraid to be called in there, right? So there's that feeling of dread. I had these Red Wedding feelings, right, from Game of Thrones. There's just this dread that you have watching that entire black and white dance sequence. And when Swordsman or Jack Duquesne gets pulled in, he is somewhat defiant there. He is somewhat, we don't see the entire conversation between Fisk and Jack, but it's not like there's the pat on the shoulder. Yes, I'll do whatever you say, Kingpin. It is a little bit defiant. So with the anti-vigilante task force and the level of brutality that they're capable of, deep frying a journalist's hand, no less. Yeah, I don't know.
I like that. I mean, it was well written, but I did not want to see it. I did not like it. I cannot begin to imagine the amount of pain. I was changing the light bulb, and I put a tiny, maybe get a blister on your thumb. I cannot imagine the amped up degree of pain to have your hand dunked in the deep fryer. Terrible. But if I may, my theory, my position is you need swordsmen in the Hawkeye show to create tension there, to be a foil, pardon the pun, for young Hawkeye Kate Bishop. So if in fact, so let's do the math. Then how do you take swordsmen off of the table for his appearances in Hawkeye?
Yeah. This is true. Yeah. I guess we'll find out next week whether Jack lives. Another question for you. With the character of Buck, right? So this is briefly, we talked about Daniel. I guess we could get to Sheila, the other character in his circle, in Kingpin's circle. But the character of Buck, Buck is the one that delivers the invitation to Dr. Glenn, and um, it has been an active character all throughout, as kind of serving both sides or both functions of running the mayor's business, but then also running, Kingpin's business, or being involved in the Kingpin affairs as well. Do you think that Buck is working for Vanessa, or is Buck really truly working for
Oh, I
Fisk?
didn't even think of that, not even for a second. I have no way of knowing now because, again, with the duplicitousness that they pitched on us with Vanessa to date, then
Mhm.
it could absolutely be the case that the Buck is under the thumb of Vanessa. I'll say this with a degree of snideness. So in the OG series, I keep saying the Netflix season. So there's the character of Wesley, like Kingpin's like right hand guy, his goon, his lieutenant. Uh, got on the wrong side of Karen Page, and Karen Page put an end to him, which was I suppose you could say within context a pleasant surprise.
Hmm.
But maybe Buck should stay away from Karen Page. Maybe history will repeat itself and Buck will go the way of Wesley. We'll have to see.
We'll have to see. We'll have to see. In the chat, Chris Ryan's writes, "Wait till you see how the anti-vigilante force looks in season 2. Bunch of scumbags." Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I am curious. Given that we only have one episode left, will we see Frank Castle reappear? That would seem terrible if it was reduced to just a cameo several episodes ago. Could there be actually um, a coming of the Punisher against the anti-vigilante task force? What do you think? Are we going to see Frank Castle?
I think if we're getting like a 10-second, 30-second towards, let's say we're in the last 25% of the show, whatever that
Mhm.
equates to towards the minutes or what have you. And it's just literally that, like a foreshadowing, just a very small amount of screen time. And he's like, oh, whatever that's words to the effect of that's enough of that, or I forget the exact words in the poem he recites out of his daughter's book. But if he does something to announce he's about to go on the rampage and it's just very quick, to me that would work. But for my own taste, I need more Bullseye screen time coming up because I need to either hear Bullseye articulate or a flashback scene of how did Vanessa approach him, pitch to the idea, why did he agree to take it and do it, and I want to see Matt get his hands around Bullseye and give him a little bit more what for.
Yeah, how awful is it, right? That Murdoch is in this position where he is looking for closure. He's looking to understand who um, had Bullseye do the hit on Foggy, but that means he has to work with Foggy's killer. He has to work with Foggy's killer to get to the truth, to get to the bottom of this. Is there going to be Are we going to be in a position where there's a Bullseye and Daredevil team up in the finale? How horrific and awful of a position that is. Um, yeah, I guess
And
we'll
then with
find
the,
out.
with the, with the setups and callbacks. So again, Foggy's dead. Matt committed to not wearing the red suit, but then came to pass and morally compromised the ethical dilemma, could not avoid the call to action, had to respond to the call to action, lest the niece of White Tiger be murdered by Muse. So now are we going to see if that was the setup and now that we're going to see the callback, will there be another intersection of an ethical dilemma and Matt will have to align with Bullseye to whoa, man. Good writing again.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic writing. Uh, I'm looking off to the side. I think I've covered most of my notes here. What do you got, Mr. C?
I'm good for the episode. Again, like one more to go. looking super forward to it. Sometimes I want to create a word by being in such a hurry. I'm jamming some words together. Looking forward to episode 9 without question. What are we going to do with our oh well, maybe then we'll get to the long awaited anticipated, always in pre-production but as yet to manifest, the hates horror movies series that we've been
Yes.
talking about doing. We could get to that, but before there it is. You can't start to wind down a show without Chester. When's the next live stream? I tell you what, pal, you yourself are going to be in the next live stream, because whether it's live from the floor while it's still open or whether you and me are back here, C2E2 Chicago Comic Convention coming this weekend, and absolutely going to provide on the Mr. C channel some C2E2 coverage, including the comic stylings and the creative wizardry of the mind of Chai-Star G.
That's awesome. And if you are just hearing about the C2E2 convention right now, you can check out Mr. C's live stream from yesterday, where he has more detail about the event and the Sven appearances. It sounds like there's a little bit of, not swirl, but a little bit of changes. So you want to keep up to date with the latest information, the latest Sven news from Mr. C dives.
And that was such a good setup you gave me yesterday with no GNUs, good GNUs, but we're going to deliver some Sven GNUs.
Sven GNUs, yes. Okay, so we will talk about Nosferatu at some point in the very near future. I've been rewatching Andor season 1 because season 2 starts up in what, 2 weeks time, I think.
Oh, all right.
2 weeks from now.
Maybe
so that may be a topic. It's been so long that I've when I'm watching the episode, the season 1 of Andor, it's like I'm kind of watching it for the first time. It's been so long. I don't know. And it's just as great the second time it feels. So yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about Andor. And I am also looking forward to opening up some toys. I've made some purchases recently from Broaxium Outpost. So I'm looking forward to doing some unboxing and coverage on that. And okay, so yes, I am conscious of this, that when I see, there's this whole thing like on social media where what is it, the Blanc du Blanc night thing, and sometimes I feel like folks are, it's like people are dressed as Colonel Sanders or better looking versions of Colonel Sanders. So I absolutely get that. And yeah, thank you there, Mr. Chris. And then what is it? Oh, yes. So with May the 4th, that will be coming up very, very soon. So we'll do our regular coverage of May the 4th deals and exclusives. And if I can, I would like to talk about some of the Star Wars Celebration Japan exclusives, some really, really amazing things that are coming out there. I am not going to that event. Wish I was there. But there's some really awesome exclusives that I would love to talk about there. No, I am not hanging out with. Yeah, no, that's all kinds of yuckiness.
He can go anywhere he wants, but we don't have to comment up on the screen. But I would like to do a lighter comedic swerve here before we close out. I pitched specifically, I'd like to hear the thoughts of a Jim Campbell on this one. I'd like to hear the thoughts of a Chris Ryans on this one, so we know. May the Force be with you is the phrase going back to the first Star Wars movie. So then, hey, phonetically very similar to the calendar date of May the 4th. That's well established. Now, lesser known to me, but recently called to my attention, since here we are now on April 9, within the Star Trek verse, there is a recognition on April the 5th, known as First Contact, related to Zephram Cochrane inventing the warp drive and calling the attention of the Vulcans. So now we're saying 5/4, May the 4th, Star Wars. Now we're saying 4, 5, April 5th, Star Trek First Contact. Coincidence or not? That the dates, the numbers are inverted. Mr. Campbell, what do you have to say? Chris Ryans, what do you have to say on this one? Clearly, May the 4th is the more famous of the recognition of the days, but I just, once that popped in my head, Revenge of the Sixth. I tell you.
Very nice. Very nice. My internet, while it looks like it's okay here, I'm seeing one bar in the StreamYard. Don't know how that works, so I got frozen a little bit here. But yes, that was a lot of math, Mr. C. I didn't catch enough of that. Oh boy, yes. Okay, since I love both Trek, War, yeah, and yeah, I'm all about it. Awesome, awesome, and this is exciting news. Looking up ahead, yes, a May the 4th sale coming to the Broaxium Outpost coming soon. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and in light of economic events, it might be good to just get it when you can now before the world implodes on us. So anyways, all right, any closing thoughts, Mr. C, that we haven't covered already?
I think we've swerved out of the main topic of Daredevil, and that's fine to cover other concluding commentaries. No, just this has been from episode 1 through episode 8. It has been a great ride. I cannot imagine that it's going to take a dive, a la a Jack Murdoch dive from the mafia trying to fix a fight. There can be no fixer to derail episode 9 in 1 week. We'll have some real good stuff in front of us. And then again, we're in the best of ways to be content crowded to come back then to talk about that in 1 week. And I'll be breaking down C2E2 as post convention coverage. So good. We're in a good point between First Contact and between May the 4th. We're at a good spot on the calendar.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, do all the YouTube-y things. I just had a thing that popped in my head. So I'm going to stretch us another couple minutes here. Given that Murdoch is shot, are we not going to be able to see another fight between Daredevil and Bullseye because he may be off the table? Is there going to be a time jump? How does that work? Or is it just comic book show? He's miraculously
the comic book show. The bullets, the bullet wound is still closing up after the bullet's extracted, but he's ready to swing billy clubs. There you have it.
There you go. I'll go with that. It went through and through, even though it didn't go into Kingpin. But yes, who knows? Who knows?
Bullets mean nothing to superheroes.
That's right. That's right. All right, we're going to close this out. Thank you so much for watching. Looking forward to chatting next week. Over and out here on Fanboy Cantina, and Mr. C dives in. Take care. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.